I'll email it to y'all. Or actually, I'm gonna send you all my documents just so we have the same version, because sometimes there's like slight differences in the versions. Oh, look! I can use the Discord. Okay, so I just uploaded the document to Discord.
Okay, I'll be right back. My sister told me to do something.
Oh, what did you say? Oh.
My sister told me to lock the door.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Yes, Emmett. All right. Whenever you're ready, go ahead, and then we'll...
1 second, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze, and I don't want to sneeze in the middle of it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now that we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure, we are met on the great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this.
That was good. All right, thoughts, anybody? Okay, I thought that was really good. Very clear, very enunciated. I didn't even have to read along with the speech to understand what you were saying. And because there's words that are kind of big, like consonant and proposition, like consecrated. That's good that you were enunciating really well. One thing, I thought you could change the pacing and the volume a little bit, because you were saying things very clearly, but more or less it was kind of like a similar tone the whole time. So if you could make it more interesting by like having more pauses and making it quiet, and also because he's talking about like, this battleground, right? So you could have a little more emotion by like this battleground, whatever. So yeah, in general, you can like switch it up by if you put more pauses in, we say that all the time, but it can add more impact to certain sentences. Yeah, overall, that was really good. Let's go next. Or wait, Suparna, do you have?
I was just gonna say I agree with Hannah for the most part. Like I was paying attention to your pace, and I didn't think it was too fast or too slow. But I think you could have like adjusted it more based on what part you were at. You know what I mean? Other than that, it was really good. All right, who wants to go next?
I can.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth this continent, a new nation, to conceive in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whatever that nation or any nation so conceived and dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a resting place for those who have gave their lives as a nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this.
Anybody have thoughts?
Okay. So I think that was really good. I noticed that you were using purposeful pauses in between the words that you felt were like really important. I think like the only thing was just like a tad bit of like stuttering and like, but I think that would just come with practice. Like this is the second time you're hearing this. It's the first time you're actually reading it. So I think it was overall really good. It would just take some practice and rehearsing to like be familiar with the words and be able to say it more clearly and more easily.
I agree. I think it probably didn't help that you were like reading it off your phone. That might have made it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, I liked how you were inserting those pauses. I think sometimes the pauses didn't feel as natural as they could have. So like it's as if like, oh, you saw a comment and you paused, but whenever you're pausing, you can make it sound like the end of a sentence. Whenever you're pausing, it's not just like in the middle of a sentence, but like at the end of a phrase, so that each new phrase like is clear. But I really like your use of pauses. So yeah, just like enunciating a little bit more. And I guess it doesn't help with your phone, but we can't really worry about that. But yeah, that was really good. I like that. You ready, Lily? Awesome.
Can I read off my phone?
Yeah, as long as you can like read the words, you're fine.
Okay. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that our nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a resting place for those who here gave their lives that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this.
I thought that was really good. I thought you enunciated very well. I think one thing, this is something in general for everyone. A couple times people stuttered on words, or if you like missed a word, you went back and said the word. In general, if you missed a word, just keep going, because if you skip a word, it's not as important as if you stop and then you lose that like confidence or whatever. So just keep going, even if you miss a word or stutter. And if there's a word that you mispronounce, like keep going, and then the next time you go through, like you can do it better. But yeah, Lily, I really liked yours. I thought your pace was pretty good. I think you could have put in like one or two more pauses, but like overall, I thought it was like good pacing, good pauses, good enunciation, like very understandable. And I was like, oh, cool. Abraham Lincoln's in the house, y'all.
I agree. Hannah basically took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to talk about, I thought you had a good pace. You enunciated, like your speaking was very clear. I could tell exactly what you were saying. But yeah, the only thing was like slight stuttering. Again, I'm sure that was because like you're reading this for the first time. But other than that, I think that was pretty good.
Okay, so I'm thinking what the other thing we could do with this is like the watermelon drill, where you put watermelon between every word. So we can do that now, or we could have them read it again, just like plain, and then do
Let's do the drill and then have them read it again.
Oh, okay, that sounds good. Okay, you want to explain it?
Yeah, so basically what we're gonna do is you're gonna read the same two paragraphs, but in between each word, you're gonna put the word watermelon. For example, for this document, you'd say for watermelon and watermelons or score. Sorry, I don't have the thing in front of me. For watermelon and watermelon score. But you don't say and. It's just for score. For watermelon score watermelon and watermelon 7 watermelon. So basically, it's just a lot of focus on what you're doing, and it'll just help you pay more attention to the words, and you'll be a lot clearer, and it'll be a lot easier to read when you go back through and you read it. So I guess you guys can all put yourself on mute and try and do the exercise, and then we can go back through each person individually and see how you improved.
For all of us. Okay, so I think it would take a long time to get through both paragraphs doing the watermelon. So maybe, should we do all of it, or should we just do the first one? You're muted.
I thought we were just gonna do it without the watermelon. Like now that they've all.
Oh,
yeah,
I kind of wanna. I'm kind of wanna have them do it with the watermelon just to see like.
Okay, you want to do the both?
Yeah.
At the same time?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, watermelon and then not watermelon.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, cool. So we'll just do one paragraph then.
Yeah. So make sure when you're doing this, you do not stutter. Try your hardest so that every word you say, you do not have to say again. Like, it doesn't matter how, like, you might have to go really slow for the watermelon stuff, but like, do not stutter. Do not stutter.
Okay, ready? Who wants to go first?
I can go.
Okay, cool. Whenever you're ready.
For watermelon, score watermelon, and watermelon, 7 watermelon, years watermelon, ago watermelon. Our watermelon, father's watermelon, brought watermelon, forth watermelon, on watermelon, this watermelon, continent watermelon. A watermelon, new watermelon, nation watermelon, conceived watermelon, in watermelon, liberty watermelon, and watermelon, dedicated watermelon, to watermelon, the watermelon proposition watermelon, that watermelon, all watermelon, and our watermelon, our watermelon, created watermelon, equal watermelon.
Nice job. All right, now you doing say it without the watermelons?
Yeah. Should I do both paragraphs or just the first one?
Just the one.
Okay. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
That was perfect. Any feedback?
I like that. I like that. Yeah, that was good. I like that.
That was good.
Like those pauses, like that piece.
Yeah, all of those pauses were very intentional and very, very well placed. So yeah, that was really good. Who wants to go next? Let's go.
Okay. For watermelon, score watermelon, and watermelon, 7 watermelon, years watermelon, ago watermelon, our watermelon, father's watermelon, brought watermelon, forth watermelon, on watermelon, this watermelon, continent watermelon, a watermelon, new watermelon, nation watermelon, conceived watermelon, in watermelon, liberty watermelon, and watermelon, dedicated watermelon, to watermelon, the watermelon, proposition watermelon, that watermelon, all watermelon, men watermelon, are watermelon, created watermelon, equal watermelon. And then should I do just the first paragraph?
Yep.
Okay. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
Any feedback? I thought it was really good. Maybe
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was really good. And maybe you could have put in like a few more pauses, but like for emphasis or whatever. But I thought that was good. The flow was really good. I think sometimes the first time when you read through something, because you're not sure where the sentence is going, your voice starts to end the sentence at weird places, but like all of the phrasing with your tone of voice matched the phrasing of the paragraph very well. Yeah, you want to go?
Let me just say the word watermelon starts sounding really weird after a while.
Yeah, I kind of want to do this after. I want to see how fast I can do it with watermelon.
I know, it's like a spreading drill.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Gabby.
Floor watermelon, score watermelon, and watermelon, 7 watermelon, years watermelon, ago watermelon. Our watermelon, father's watermelon, brought watermelon, fourth watermelon, on watermelon, this watermelon, continent watermelon, a watermelon, new watermelon, nation watermelon, conceived watermelon, in watermelon, liberty watermelon, and watermelon, dedicated watermelon to watermelon, the watermelon, proposition watermelon, that watermelon, all watermelon, men watermelon, are watermelon, created watermelon, equal watermelon. I got tired of saying watermelon.
Nice job. All right, want to do it without the watermelons now?
Yes, please. 4 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this nation, on this continent, a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
You're try saying that one more time, so that you can like get it without the stutter.
7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
All right. I thought that was good, especially a lot better after the watermelon. I feel like you were enunciating pretty well. I would say your pause, I think, between the and proposition was like a little bit awkward, but like it wasn't bad, obviously. Like it didn't really impact the speech that much, but just like those are like small, tiny details. Yeah, so, and also if you want to speak slower so that you have time to read ahead so that you don't have to stumble over your words, like that's totally fine. Speaking slower with more impact is almost always a good thing. But yeah, I thought that was really good. Lots of enunciation. Your pauses were pretty good. I like that.
Okay. So now.
Watermelon, score watermelon, watermelon.
Do it. Major spreading drill. Watermelon and watermelon. 7 watermelon to go. Watermelon.
Maybe we can see who can do it the fastest. And then for every stutter or something, you could like added 5 seconds or something.
Ooh, maybe.
Would you guys be interested in that?
Move on to something else.
All right, Lillian and Emmett seem pretty interested, so
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. You guys have 30 seconds to practice, and then we'll do our speed round.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, prep's done. So who wants to go first? And then, so we'll be timing you, and then maybe how about for every like misstep in your words, we'll add on 2 seconds? All right, so we'll add on 2 seconds for every stutter. Who wants to go first?
I can go.
All right, let's go, Emmett. I'll give you a 3, 2, 1. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
4 watermelon, score watermelon, and watermelon, 7 watermelon, years watermelon ago, watermelon, our watermelon, father's watermelon, brought watermelon, forth watermelon, on watermelon, this watermelon, continent watermelon, a watermelon, new watermelon, nation watermelon, conceived watermelon, in watermelon, liberty, and watermelon, dedicated watermelon, to watermelon, the watermelon, proposition watermelon, that watermelon, all watermelon, men are watermelon, created watermelon, equal watermelon.
Okay, that was 31 seconds because it was 25 seconds, but you had 3 mishaps. So that was, did I do my math right? Yes, 31. So Emmett, wow, that's gonna be hard to beat, y'all. All right, who wants to go next? All right, Lily, let's do it. 3, sorry, hold on, wait, let me count. Ready, set, go.
4 watermelon, score watermelon, and watermelon, 7 watermelon, years watermelon ago, watermelon, our watermelon, father's watermelon, brought watermelon, forth watermelon, on watermelon, this watermelon, continent watermelon, a watermelon, new watermelon, nation watermelon, conceived watermelon, in watermelon, liberty watermelon, in watermelon, dedicated watermelon, to watermelon, the watermelon, proposition watermelon, that watermelon, all watermelon, men, watermelon, are watermelon, created watermelon, equal watermelon.
Okay, that was, oh my god, this watch is, okay. So my watch was at 28 seconds and 98 milliseconds, and then you had 1 mishap, so that would be 30 seconds and 98 milliseconds. So it's almost 31 seconds, but not, so you're just a little bit faster than me by like 0.02 seconds.
Yeah. So close. That was so close. All right.
Ready, Gabby?
Yeah.
Ready, set, go.
4 watermelon, score watermelon, and watermelon, 7 watermelon, years watermelon ago, watermelon, our watermelon, father's watermelon, brought watermelon, forth watermelon, on watermelon, this watermelon, continent watermelon, a watermelon, new watermelon, nation, conceived watermelon, in watermelon, liberty watermelon, and watermelon, dedicated watermelon, to watermelon, the watermelon, proposition, that watermelon, all watermelon, men, watermelon, are watermelon, created watermelon, equal watermelon.
Okay, so my time was 30, wait, so you have 33 seconds, but I counted, wait, I think I counted 3 mistakes, so that would be 39 seconds, which is pretty dang fast. Wow, you guys are doing so fast.
How is that even possible? That was so good.
Yeah, I also, okay, I really like, Gabby, how when you were doing it, there are sometimes when you, like, I felt like we're gonna set it, but then you slowed down and then you didn't, and I thought that was so good. Like you slowed down and said it, like, clearly, which was just points for clarity.
Okay.
So, Brian, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Oh, are we going?
I think we should go.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. I can go.
Okay, here. Ready?
Let me pull
Ready?
Let me pull it up. All right. I don't know how good this is gonna be, guys, but count me down, Hannah.
We haven't been practicing. Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
4 watermelon, score watermelon, and watermelon, 7 watermelons, years watermelon ago, watermelon, our watermelon, father's watermelon, brought watermelon, forth watermelon, on watermelon, this watermelon, continent watermelon, a watermelon, new watermelon, nation, watermelons, conceived watermelon, in watermelon, liberty watermelon, and watermelon, dedicated watermelon, to watermelon, the watermelon, proposition watermelon, that watermelon, all watermelon, men, watermelon, are watermelon, created watermelon, equal.
You forgot that last watermelon.
Watermelon.
Whatever. Okay, that was 28 seconds. So that was, and I didn't count any mistakes, but I might, you know, if everyone else counted a mistake, let me know, because I don't want to be like biased towards the staff or anything. All right, can you time me?
Yes, here, wait, I can time. You know what I just realized though? I didn't turn this on after yesterday, so I'm at like 20 hours.
Ah!
Okay, I'll count you down, Hannah.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, Yeah.
4 watermelon, score watermelon, and watermelon, 7 watermelon, years watermelon ago, watermelon, our watermelon, father's watermelon, brought watermelon, forth watermelon, on watermelon, this watermelon, continent watermelon, a watermelon, new watermelon, nation watermelon, conceived watermelon, in watermelon, liberty watermelon, and watermelon, dedicated watermelon, to watermelon, the watermelon, proposition watermelon, that all, oh no, that watermelon, all watermelon, our watermelon, created watermelon, equal watermelon.
Oh my god, that's 23.83 seconds. One stutter, which is 25.83 seconds.
I messed up so bad. Oops.
That was incredible.
I think I stuttered a little. Like some of my words I think probably weren't enunciated very well. Okay.
Anybody count any other stutters that they could tell? We're gonna keep it at 25. Hannah's the winner of our spreading competition. Next debater.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay, what was the next thing we were going to do?
How about we all, maybe we can all go, not all of us, but they can go through and do the 2 paragraphs one more time with as much clarity and good pauses. You know, like sometimes you can also put pauses on emphasis. Like all men are created equal is like a really big thing. So you can say like a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. You know, like you can say not like all men are created equal, like everybody is created
Every single man.
equal.
is
Not the women though. Sorry, Gabby. Sorry, Lily.
What about me, Hannah? Okay.
Okay, so do you guys just want to go through and say that one more time? But first 2 paragraphs?
Like,
We can take a quick break. What's up? Yeah, no watermelons, just swift speech.
All right, let's go first.
You can go.
All right, let's go.
87 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as the final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we shall do this.
That was really good. I think I only counted like 2 stutters, which is really good.
Yeah, really good improvement. I don't know if there's that much else that I would change. Yeah, I think you did pretty well. Your pauses were in pretty good places too.
Yeah, your pacing was really good. It felt more natural and not as much like reading from something. It felt more like you were speaking, which is really good.
Okay,
What's
who wants to get
next? Lily or Gabby, do you guys want to go next?
I can go next.
All right, let's go. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. 87 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war. Testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated that can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who gave their lives that this nation might live. It's altogether fitting and proper that we should do this.
Yeah, I thought that was a huge improvement. I didn't count that many stutters. I think maybe it's like 2 or 3. Your pacing was pretty good.
Hannah's just taking the same things that I'm gonna say.
Fine, you go first.
You already, yeah.
I already went first.
Yeah. I was just gonna talk about how good your pace was, and the lack of stutters. Those were the two main things I was gonna say. I think
Yeah, just sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
no, go
Keep
ahead.
going.
Go ahead.
I think you know the speech route pretty well, but you just need a little bit more confidence when you're speaking. Like, you know where you're going, you know what this is all about. So speak confidently and try to enunciate just a little bit more. Sometimes the ends of your words will kind of disappear into the next word. So make sure each word is very clear and more pauses between your words too will help. But overall, it was so good.
Yes.
Ready, Lily? Sorry, I'm so hard. Did you say something?
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this.
That was good. Like that. Oh, no, so far you go first.
I really liked your enunciation and your fluctuation. Those were the main things that I was going to focus on. I liked your pace too. I think all of that, like, spot on. Really, I'm not sure what I would fix. I'm not giving you other additional feedback.
Oh, Saparna, you took what I was gonna say. Yeah, I thought that was really good. I thought the pacing was good. I think maybe in general, like more pauses or a slower pace with more emphasis could help. But that's generally for everybody, not you specifically. I'm just saying that because this is like the last feedback. That was pretty good. Everything's coming up real nicely, guys.
Man, it's been like 3.5 days.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe we should do this again, but with hand gestures.
We could. I'm not sure what hand gestures to use though.
Well, maybe like force. We can, when you say like this continent, you can like point like to this continent, a new nation conceived in liberty. Oh, and we can say all men. You can say like all men created.
Yeah. So the one thing about hand gestures, and maybe we'll talk about this. Actually, maybe we should do this like next week.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the one thing about it is that you don't want to get too wrapped up in trying to focus on your hand gestures. And I feel like hand gestures are more of like an advanced skill. Like, while I've been working with Mr. Matusiak, he a lot of the time says that I use useless hand gestures and I need to stop talking with my hands and try and keep my hands at my side because they're really distracting. But when you do get to the level where you're doing well in all of the other places that you need to do well in, for example, you're doing well with the content, you're able to clearly express yourself and take the right pauses, etc., everything that we've been working on, then you can start to incorporate hand gestures, but they're supposed to be very purposeful. So depending on what you're saying, you just, it's another way to emphasize things with your hands. So if you're talking about something that you really want the judge to pay attention to, then you can like use your hands, you can like point something out like this, you can talk about how grand something is, or like look up if you're talking about cameras or drones or street lights or something like that. Those are all the recommendations that Mr. Matusiak, like examples that he's given me, but they're just supposed to be very purposeful whenever you use them, and you're supposed to. For any of you guys, are you guys too young to know about Musical.ly? Were any of you guys on Musical.ly?
I was.
Yeah, so it was to a point where Mr. Matusiak told me to start. So I was cringily also on Musical.ly in my time, but it was to a point where he told me like anytime I'm listening to the radio or I'm like listening to the news or anything, I should do hand gestures along with what they're saying so I can practice talking with my hands, just saying the same thing. So I was thinking about that just reminded me of Musical.ly, like how you would say what you're what you usually say, like with words, you just act out the gestures too. So yeah, that like reminded me, like say like you saw something and you really want to enunciate it, like you really want to emphasize it, you can do this, but it's just very purposeful. Don't do that. It might be taken in the wrong way.
Yeah. If you guys want, we can also take a quick break
Yes.
before we go to content stuff. Or we can just keep chugging along, but whatever you guys want.
Break.
I agree. Let's take a break.
All right. We'll give you like 5 minutes. Okay, cool.
Format.
Can you say that again for our YouTube fans?
Yeah. So now for the content part of Impromptu, we're just going to choose a random prompt and then we're going to work together on forming a structure that we have, just so we can get used to the process of forming stuff.
Okay. Do you want me to use one of the ones that that we've made in the past? Like
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds good.
I'll use one of like the categories that didn't get picked.
Okay, and we can keep some, and then we can just practice Impromptu. Maybe we can do like 2, and we can make them kind of like each one kind of short, just so you can get the idea.
Yes.
So
Okay. So we can use any of them except for numero uno. Right? Is that the one that was already used? I think so. Yeah. We can use either of those 2.
Which one? Wait.
So I'll just delete the ones that we can't use.
Oh wait. I think I'm screen sharing, so you can't screen share right now.
Oh, okay.
Or are you also screen sharing?
I'll try. Wait, let me see. Maybe we can both screen share.
Yeah, let me pause mine. Wait,
Oh.
I'll just stop so that you can share.
Okay. I'll just use. Here are our options, other than the ones that are already used, obviously. So, this one can't be used. Or, I mean, we could. Actually, we can use any of these and just redo it if you want to.
Okay.
These are the ones that you guys have already seen.
Hey Gabby, choose a number between 1 and 9, and that number will not correspond to the 1 and 10, but that number will not correspond to the actual quote.
Yes, we can either go with quotes or persuasive.
Quotes.
Okay, cool.
As your quotes. All right, choose a random number from 1 to 10, Gabby.
I think you're muted.
Oh yeah, Gabby, you're muted.
7.
7. Okay, so we're doing number 10.
How did you do that?
Okay, no, I don't like that one. We're gonna do another one. We're gonna do 3 and 4 because 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So we'll do 3 and 4. What are these quotes? Wow.
Cool.
Oh, let's start with 4. That's a little more palatable.
Okay.
So yeah, here, let me share my screen so I can put on so we can like have the blah 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 blah. Okay. So what is it? The more we value things,
The less we value ourselves.
okay.
So first off, I think we should just think about the quote. So what does this mean to you guys, / what does it remind you of? Okay. I'll start off the list. Okay. We can talk about just like money. That's something, right? What else? Lily, you said the Kardashians, right?
I did this one for like the 2 minute.
Yeah.
I used an example of like a family member.
Oh yeah, for the intro.
Okay. Wait, I can't see my thing. I don't even know if I'm muted or not. I am not muted. Okay. Oh my god, I can annotate. Are you? Oh, never mind.
So hopeful in school.
Okay, so this I think is like this quote has a lot to do with like materialism and like you can talk about our capitalist consumerism economy, how people aim to do things like they aim to get a job that will get them a lot of money so they can buy a lot of things, but sometimes they're not happy in that job, so they're living with all these things that are supposed to make them happy, but the thing that they're spending 9 hours a day on, their job, is just something that they hate. So that's something that, like, if you value yourself, you would try to find something that makes you happy rather than finding something that will get you objects that make you happy. So you can, and then like, what are some other directions we could go? So like, that was one direction. That might be like something that I could do for this. But what else? What do you guys think? I can't see anybody.
Doesn't have to be that deep either.
Yeah, sorry. I did.
I don't really know if this would work, but have you ever seen the Lorax, like the movie?
Yes. Continue.
He got obsessed with like all the money he was getting for his machine that he kind of forgot about like the whole reason he came there in the first place and how he cared about people before.
That's perfect. That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Lily and Emma, do you guys have any input on this?
It could be like, instead of like, never mind. I thought of something and I just forgot as soon as I started talking.
No idea is dumb, as long as it's not hot deception.
Yeah, that's what people told me too before they heard about hot chip suey. It's okay, guys. I haven't seen anything like that come out of you guys. I have total faith in you guys to be better than I am.
No, you can go.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You can go.
Okay, I already used the example yesterday, but I really don't like Donald Trump. You really know that already. I read like 10 articles on like the new Mary Trump's book, and apparently her brother like calling her out and saying it's all lies, like because he values his partnership with Donald Trump. And her brother's betraying her own brother who saw her father dying and everything. He betraying her because he has business ties with Donald Trump, his uncle, and betraying his immediate family because money.
That's a really good point also. Yeah.
In the movie The Little Rascals, Alfalfa and Darla are together, but then she meets another guy who like is like super rich and like buys her all these presents, but then at the end of the day she forgets like why she forgets what she really wants and just focused on like the rich things rather like memories.
Yeah. That's like the I forgot what I was gonna say. It's like the idea of like gold digging.
Wait, Sabrina, are you recording this?
I am, as far as I know. Yeah, I am. Delete a keyword.
Okay. It's for debate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are some good examples. So what are some like ideas, like some moral of the story type like interpretations of this quote, you think? Because these examples are really good and very like engaging, but maybe you can try to think of some, it doesn't have to be like a super deep meaning, just like when you read this, what do you think about And then how would you summarize what you think about in like another quote, I guess? Another kind of.
Like, for example, the
Like
example.
money causes people to lose sight of what they're actually like lose sight of like their personalities and their beliefs.
Good. Anyone else? All right, well, that's what we have is pretty good, I think. So the more we value things, the less we value ourselves. Okay, yeah, so I think Emmett's thing is that would honestly be a pretty good thesis. So how about we go ahead and use that as our thesis, and then we can use one of these three for our hook. So, oh wait, let's go. Wait,
I
no,
agree.
go back.
Because it is a way to actually it would be more than acceptable to use these like as points, but I think in my experience it always works out better using ideas rather than like examples. You know what I mean? We're using these examples within your ideas. So if you were, well, okay, we'll come to the points first, then I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about.
So whenever we start, I think of these three, maybe actually I don't know how popular Little Rascals is, but I know that a lot of people know the Lorax, and I think as of now a lot of people would know about Mary Trump. However, Mary Trump is a very partisan issue. Not like partisan necessarily, but it can be very divisive. So if you have like an avid Trump fan and then you talk about how Mary Trump's brother is doing that, it might put them on the wrong idea. So I think of those three, for now, the best hook would be the Lorax.
Yeah. And like obviously it's not like, I don't want to say illegal, but you're definitely allowed to use political stances, but I would just recommend not doing it because it could give the judge a subconscious bias. Even though they're not supposed to be biased one way or another, they might be just because they disagree with you.
And I don't know, well, and this one's like values and wealth. I guess, okay, so whenever we split into first point, second point, third point, we don't want to center it around these examples, but try to find ideas that are represented by these examples. So with Mary Trump's brother, you can talk about how like people will value their business more than their family. And then in Little Rascals, I'm not sure if I remember right, but you can talk about how like people will value wealth over like true love and true companionship. And then in Lorax, as you can also actually just talk about the environment with the Lorax if you wanted to. Or you could just talk about how people will give up their values for status, maybe. Because he gets a lot of status by having wealth. So like that's something you could do. Like if you have examples in mind, you can get ideas from the examples and then each point can sit on one of those ideas. But does anyone else have other, like, does anyone have any ideas for a triangle we could use that, not like unrelated to these, but anyone have maybe some triangle ideas? Okay, like for example, if we wanted to go from small to big, you could talk about, so maybe the big thing could be like globally, because we value things and we don't value ourselves, we give up on things like the planet and like third world countries, and like inequality are all things that are a result of people wanting things rather than valuing like human life.
I was worried you were going to say capitalism. I was worried you were going to say capitalism.
I mean, I basically am, but I'm not going to say capitalist.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then like personally, you could say something like one of your friends, or You could say like personally, when you value something rather than yourself, it can make you more unhappy. Like the job example, like if you would pursue something that will give you a lot of money, but you're not happy with, you're not going to be happy. And then second point, maybe you can talk about like communities. Like sometimes in school, they'll value the test scores rather than the student's education and happiness. So that's why we don't have as many like mental health resources, but we have a lot of math help. So that's one of those examples where like sometimes the community will value things that, whatever. And then your third one could be like, as a society, we value money and business rather than trying to make sure that every human being has human rights and stuff, like small, medium, big.
Right. So, so using this example, I think for part of our thesis, we should explain that we are going, like kind of road mapping that we're going to be going off the triangle idea. So we're going to be saying, I mean, can you guys think of anything along those lines for like individual that you could use for an individuality point?
Like, can I use a job example?
Yeah.
My dad worked as like a professor at University of Pittsburgh, but he didn't really enjoy it. So then he changed careers like 5 years ago to become a therapist.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a perfect example that you could use in that like scenario.
Yeah. So does anyone have ideas for one step above individual, like community or even state or nation, something that's a little bit broader?
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be an example, but like, so like the idea I talked about schools, like is there something like that we can discuss, like politics or something? I don't know.
Like our district, I think in like 6th grade, because we weren't scoring high enough on tests, they were gonna like take away time from like music and like fun electives to add time onto like more academic like focused time.
Yeah. Like academic.
Yeah.
They just basically debated one entire test course.
Right.
Yeah. And then within that, you could talk about how maybe I don't know, maybe it's not true personally, but if you guys are musicians, like Emmett, I know you play the flute, you could talk about like how much value you have in music and how you get to cooperate with people in music and like, I don't know, like whatever, like, so like the value of music is less, like is rated less than test scores, but in reality, it's not less than test scores, something like that. So how about something like big and broad that applies to everyone that you can kind of like wrap up your stuff with? Thoughts?
Yeah, something that just impacts the entire world.
People like disregarding like fracking for oil like in oceans.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think that's an indicator of?
They just want money and they don't really care how it affects the planet.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's like an example of the environment. Okay.
And then with that, you can tie in like future generations. Mm-hmm. So you can talk about how we would rather think about the now. And like whenever, also in the quote, you could say like, not only can we interpret ourselves as us ourselves, but ourselves as a human race and how in the future, like our descendants are going to be in great danger because of the environment and our
And you could expand that like beyond fracking too. You could talk about how we release carbon emissions to make clothes. Yeah, stuff like that. You can just expand it to how we're having an environmental impact and nobody's really doing anything about it. Yeah. Even though we know like climate change is happening, but nobody cares because big businesses want to make money now. Well, like the future doesn't matter. They're just like devaluing humans for money.
So within these, like it seems like Emmett knows a good bit about fracking, so he could talk about fracking in that last example. But then someone like Liana, like maybe means Aparna, know a lot about fast fashion and how brands like Nike are really bad for the environment and also don't pay their workers. So we can talk about that. Like whatever you feel more comfortable with, you can talk about underneath that idea.
Yeah. If you guys just know about like the ocean, polluting the ocean, you can talk about that.
Trafficking endangered animals.
Yes.
Yeah, you
yes.
can talk about hunting, something like that.
But the most important thing is that whatever example you're using, like fracking endangered animals, that does not come first. First comes your idea that on a global scale, people and companies value things more than they value ourselves and humans or animals, and then you go into your example. So that whenever the judge is like writing down or thinking about your structure, they're saying, okay, their 3 points are ideas and not their 3 points are examples.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like the idea of like a topic, and underneath the topic are like supporting examples. Like these examples that we have are just supports to strengthen almost like the claim that we're making for each paragraph. So for example, the global claim we're making is that money is, like, people consider money to be more important than the planet and future generations and the human race. But to support that, we're going to give examples of how they do that through fracking. It's not that being our entire paragraph.
Okay. So, So schools value artistic expression less than test scores. Yeah.
With that one, you can link it back to money because the test scores get them more money.
Yes, you are so right. Okay.
And even to like the schools.
Schools get more funding for higher test scores.
Yeah.
Which is also indicative of a political system that values rankings more than actual wellness. I don't know, whatever. I just made that last part up.
Or with COVID, how they want the Republicans are pushing for kids to go back to school to reopen as a ploy to help reopen the economy, even though it might not necessarily be safe for us.
Yes, you could definitely talk about that. I think, like politicians, that could go under the second or the third point, really. So you could talk about how globally that's happening, or you could talk in the second point about how just in our country that's happening. Or, reopening after COVID.
Yeah, it's another good point, especially now that COVID's happening. We can talk about how a lot of, it's kind of the same idea, like how people keep trying to open the economy because they think it's gonna like bring in money, but really it's just harming people, and like we should be staying quarantined in our own homes. But like they want to get the economy started again. So now people are being forced to, like, in order to make money, they have to go work and be at risk for getting coronavirus. So that just shows that they're valuing money rather than their own well-being.
So we'll have those 3 points, and then in conclusion, you review the 3 points, and then you can restate your thesis and donut. Or you can change that order around. You can donut first, and then review, and then have your thesis, or whatever you have. But those 3 things need to be there. So in this case, that'd be Lorax. So if in the beginning you talk about how the person in the Lorax values money instead, and then at the end you can say how, like, even though he's a fictional character, he's just like so many people. Or like, and say the Lorax speaks for the trees, and we should all try to be like the Lorax, and remember that we need to, instead of valuing things over ourselves, we need to value ourselves more than things. So like a parting message is important. Oh, thesis.
It can be, go ahead.
And restate the quote.
Yes, very important. I was gonna say it can be a little bit cheesy because, like, it needs to be like a moral of the story, ending, resounding, just finished closure. You can tell that that's the end. That's your concluding sentence. Something like, even though the onceler got sidetracked and began to see wealth as the only thing that was important in the world, like many of us, he eventually saw that there are more important things to value, like friendships, the environment, people's humanity, mental health. And I'm sure that the rest of us can come to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So let's do an overview. So in the intro, you have your hook, which can be the Lorax, which is something that's very relatable. And you can maybe just start your speech with like, I am the Lorax and I speak for the trees. And then you go into and talk about the Lorax, because it's just like it's a hook. Then you talk about your thesis, which is that money causes people to lose sight of their personalities and beliefs. And of course, very important, restate. Just state, I guess. State your quote. So you state your quote, and then you go through your roadmap and say, like, we can see that money causes people to lose sight of their personalities and beliefs, both on an individual level with our careers, on a community level with our schools, and on a global level as we see the destruction we do to our planet. Then you walk and say, first, careers, and you talk about the idea that, like, people will choose unhappy careers, and then you can talk about your example. And then your second point, you walk over, you talk about how schools and communities will value artistic expression less than test scores. They value these things more than what makes their students happy and how their students are able to express themselves. Or you're trying to reopening after COVID, and you give them those examples. And then you go to your third point. You walk over, do global environment, all that kind of stuff. Then you step forward and you're like, in conclusion, this affects us on an individual, community, and global level with careers, schools, and the environment. And as from all these examples, we can see that it's true that money and like restate your thesis, and you say, which goes back to our quote, that the more we value things, the less we value ourselves. Things like money, ourselves, blah, blah, blah. You donut, you talk about the Lorax again, and then you end with your moral story. That's basically it. Thesis can also be under the moral story. That make sense?
I have a question about like the quote.
Yes.
You can interpret it like the quote like however you want, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
And for like the triangle, does it always have to be like personal, community, or world, or can it be like in a different order?
It can be in a different order.
It can be, I would recommend it only being personal, community, or world, community, or personal. I wouldn't recommend putting community first or last.
see. So did that help you guys at all in understanding how you can format a speech? Okay, cool. So do you guys want to try doing another one, or do you want to go into doing practice speeches?
Let's do another one.
Okay, cool.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you want to do the other quote, or do you want me to pull up a different one that we can do?
We do persuasive.
Oh, persuasive? Yeah. Sorry, I don't know. It took me so long to think.
Okay, who's
All right,
this?
Hannah.
Again.
Click for me sharing
Page. Wait, no.
here. All right. So here are the options for persuasive. Problems. Let's see. Man, I just put a lot of spaces in between these. Oh, Tim.
Tim. Yeah, my friend Tim just hates social customs.
Waste of Tim. Ah,
Okay, so.
and there's one more at the bottom.
Oh.
Separated. Ah.
So, pardon, if you do Command Enter, it'll give you a page break, so it'll move it to the next.
Oh my
page.
God, I should do that instead. Okay, let's try that.
Command Enter, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Do any of these stand out to you guys that you would want to do?
Actually, I'm gonna utilize my new skill. Thank you.
All right. So, give me a number from 1 to 10.
9.
9. Okay. I'm gonna. This is not working.
It's not working. It's fine though. I'm just playing. with
Okay,
it.
7. We're gonna do 7. Oh wait, no, you already did that one though. So let's do something that's not 7. How about?
How about we do numero? As well as measured and money in possession. Okay, why don't we do 10? Unless somebody has a better idea. So I feel like that one is slightly informative also. So we can
Okay.
kind of get a feel for something else.
Yeah, and it's a little less broad.
Yes. And it gives you like space to just show what you already know.
This is also something that if you don't know anything about tipping in restaurants, you can make stuff up for that. Intro. 1, 2, 3. No, I'm not sharing in my here. Let me share my screen.
Here, I will stop my share. Stop my share.
Here we go. Okay, cool. So what are some of your first initial thoughts? Like honestly, maybe doing like a word cloud at the beginning will be helpful for you guys. Should tipping restaurants be mandatory?
So what's your guys' answer to this?
Yes, it is not already included. Like some places we go, it's like 20% will be added if you have a party of 6 or more.
So yes.
Yes, it was not already included because some in Washington.
Oh yeah.
In Washington, Seattle, Washington, they typically include tip early if you have like a party like 6 or more.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mandatory tax. Yeah. So
I got you.
I feel like tipping shouldn't be mandatory. Like just restaurant workers should just be paid enough already. They don't need to rely on tipping.
Restaurants should pay their workers and not us.
So do you think there shouldn't be tipping at all, or that it just shouldn't be mandatory?
I feel like if people wanted to tip, they still can, but restaurants should just pay their workers, not
I got you.
the patrons.
So it's like it's like actually an indicator of service. So like if they do well, you tip them. But it's not like if I don't tip, I'm an evil person that's taking away this person's livelihood.
Or you get your food sneezed on.
Hmm.
Because it happens.
Okay. So yeah, so we have those two. So so also one with no, because restaurants should pay their workers. That produces a problem because if you're someone that believes that restaurants should pay their workers, but you don't tip, that still just ends up with the employees not getting money. So it's kind of like a catch-22. So you're saying like, I'm against tipping because the restaurant should pay their workers, but if you don't tip, you're not paying their workers. It's something that has to happen from the restaurant level and not from the customer level, which makes it hard.
I've been to a few restaurants that says tipping's not necessary. We pay our workers a fair, generous wage.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
there's only,
those restaurants are,
5 or 6 restaurants like that. So
that's true. Those restaurants do exist and they're very nice.
I think it should be necessary. Like at least, like even if they do a bad job, you don't have to tip like a lot. But I think they should still be earning money because a lot of people who work in restaurants, like either like couldn't afford college or are in college like trying to pay off college, and college is really really expensive. So like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like they need that money.
Like even if it's not a lot, there should still be like a little, because they are like giving you your food.
Yeah, that's true.
they are cleaning off your table before and after you eat there. They're in some place. Is it a law to share your money with like the chefs? Like there's like a pool and they put their money in the pool and they split it between the chefs and them.
Oh, really? Is that a thing? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't
Sometimes
think that's.
sometimes
I think
they,
it depends on the restaurant.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, that'd be really cute, actually. Because I guess favoring servers isn't that good. But yeah, I mean, there is like also the argument that I've heard that they're just doing their job. Why are you paying them extra money? Because that's what they're supposed to do. They're already getting paid for doing that.
Or like, what if tips weren't a thing? Like, if say all restaurants just pay their workers like a normal wage and tipping wasn't a thing, do you think that would decrease the quality of service because people, if they're not motivated by a tip, would they just be like, oh, this is like a normal thing, I'll just do whatever because I'm gonna get paid the same either way? Do you think that would be a result?
Yeah, I think that could exist because like whenever I would go to a restaurant, most of the time the server would do their best and like always come to the table for feedback and stuff,
Mhm.
and like try their best.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like maybe they wouldn't try as hard if there weren't any tips.
Yes, incentive.
Okay, so I think we have like a couple of good points between both yes and no. So what do you guys think? Let's just like take a random, but like just choose one randomly.
Yeah. Another thing that you can do, which I wouldn't recommend doing, but Mr. Matusiak says is definitely like a realistic, valid option, is to do what you call a hinge argument, which is where you basically you sound like you're starting to go in one direction, and then midway you completely like change. It's like it catches the judge off guard. The problem that I've seen with this, and it might be my delivery, so it might be for more advanced speeches. The problem that I've seen every time that I try and do this kind of argument is that judges always think that I'm confused and that like my argument is not coherent. they say that I don't make it clear what my position is until the very end, which is what I'm trying to do. But I don't think if it's parent judges, I don't think they necessarily understand that. So I would, if you are to do this, I would recommend doing it at a higher level, not a local tournament. Or if the judge is more experienced and you already know the judge beforehand, then you definitely can. But that's a good thing to do when you have a lot of arguments on both sides and you don't know which one to do. But like one slightly outweighs the other one.
Yep.
But
And you can also, so like within each one, it seems like if we had to do a speech that's just about yes, it might be hard to come up with 3 points to support that. So if each one has some supporting, what you could also do is you could format it, like first you talk about the reasons why tipping should be mandatory, then you talk about reasons why tipping shouldn't be mandatory, and then in your third point, you like analyze both of them and say, okay, knowing these two, now what do we say? We say, oh, there's more reasons why it should be mandatory, so the answer is yes. So you talk about like side one, side two, and then analyze and decide on one. So you can do that too.
In a way, your third point a little bit merges with your conclusions. You have to be really careful about making that distinction.
Yeah.
Also. Or you could just keep those 2 points and come to a conclusion, but then a lot of the time, your conclusion becomes excessively long. So just be very cautious when using that argument. And we'll talk more about it also. Like, the season hasn't even started yet. This is pure practice.
Yep. So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to do just yes, just no, or discuss both, or hinge? Wait, do you say that the hinge is like the discussing both? Or
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
because I feel like sometimes hinge is like you start out with yes, and then you're like, wait a minute, no. Like,
I
think it might be slightly different than yes, than no, than which one. Analysis, I guess.
Yes. That's another option too, yeah.
So what do you guys think?
I think that we should do the hinge.
Okay, cool. We can try that.
I don't think I've ever done a hinge, so I don't know how that
works.
works.
Let me think about it. Make sure that we can do it for this argument.
Okay. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by a hinge argument.
Okay, so I think the best way to do this would be to start out by saying yes. And say, like, this may not sound very moral is the only problem, but the way that you would go about doing this, I think, would be starting out by saying, yes, we should tip the restaurants because, like, many of them are working their butts off and it's crazy. You wouldn't imagine what a server has to go through. Tips motivate them. And then in the middle, during one of the transitions, say something along the lines of, they do work their butts off, but so does every other person in every other job. Why are we favoring them and saying that we should be tipping them extra? We don't tip our firefighters, we don't tip like doctors, right? We just pay them for doing their job, which is what we're doing with servers too. And then make that your third point.
Wait, so what is the third point?
I think that would be the third point. I think maybe, I don't know if, I think maybe in that case you might just have to.
Wouldn't the third point just be like they should be paid by corporate, like the actual company, and not the patron?
Yeah, you could do that too. You could say exactly what Emmett was saying, that if like they should just be paid a fair amount of wage. It shouldn't be tips. Tips shouldn't be mandatory. If somebody really wants to pay a tip, then they can, et cetera, et cetera. But the other place where it gets a little bit rocky is you have to make your answer kind of somewhat unclear in the thesis statement. So generally in the thesis statement, you're supposed to answer the question. You're supposed to say either a yes or a no to what you're saying. But in this case, you'd have to say something along the lines of, like, we'll discuss this more in depth. Like, you'll say workers. So in order to answer this question is really difficult to answer because there's so many things to consider. So in answering this question, we will first look at the amount that servers have to go through and the diligence in their serving abilities and like hours that they have to work. Obviously make that a lot more concise than what I just said. And then we'll move on to talking about how, see, this is where it gets hard without, like, you don't want to steal your own thunder. You don't want to, like, spoil what you're already talking about. Then we'll begin talking about the basic, I don't want to say, like, found, like, reasoning for tips or something like that.
Yeah, like analysis of
Yeah.
why tips are a thing. Like maybe so like first we'll think about like the status quo, why they get tips, and then we'll have like reevaluate the status quo. Why are tips a thing? Why are, what, blah blah blah. And then last we can say, so with knowing this reevaluation of the fact that we only need to tip them because the restaurants are tipping them, what should we do about it?
Like, so like the third point is what, like the conclusion that we should come to, or like the way to fix this. Yeah, solution.
Okay, so this is like a thing, but so let me just go ahead. Here. Wait, no, stop. So that's your roadmap. TBD. So in the intro, whenever you're talking, like your third point, I like this one better. Okay. So when we're going through, so then in your intro, you would need some kind of hook, but because this is something that everyone goes to restaurants, this should be relatively easy to come up with. So you could talk about like your own experience at a restaurant. You could, if you worked at a restaurant, you could talk about that, or you could talk about the service industry.
Yeah,
and then
if you know anybody who works at a restaurant, stuff like
yes, exactly.
Even you know what would be something good? I don't remember, I'm not sure if you guys did this last year, but when we were in 8th grade, we did a facts cafe where we had to be the servers and we had to be we had to basically run the entire restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have experience doing that.
They got rid of it this year.
Well, they didn't get rid of the cafe fully, did they? I thought they just got. I think they just made facts optional.
No,
What?
they took away like the like where the parents would come in and like them, but then they kept like you sell your baked treats to students on the winter fundraiser.
That's so sad.
Yeah, but they got rid of the cafe. I mean, they got rid of the cafe and then made facts optional.
That's so sad. Facts is so fun.
They wanted to lengthen the academic period.
Facts was my least favorite last year.
What?
Not fun, because he chose our groups and it was terrible because
that makes sense.
Like there was this one person who always had like their thing and they were never there, so then I was stuck with like 4 other people.
That's why group projects suck.
We had gotten to our groups like right before, like 3 before COVID struck. So it was at the end of the year, school again. I had
It
Yeah,
probably
it's
fun like the years before, but they changed it and it's not fun anymore.
yeah, I just decided that I would get more out of other classes than that.
Dang. I mean, I don't blame you, but you guys think you have a pretty good idea of what to do?
Can you share it with us but on like the view mode or
Oh, am I not sharing?
uh
Oh no, you're sharing your screen. She meant like just
Like the
make it so we
document,
can
share it.
access the
like
document.
so we can
Yes, absolutely. Here. Okay.
Silly goose.
I am a silly goose.
Or
Okay,
you could
this
just
is
put just download it as a file and put the file in the Discord.
That's true. Okay, I'll share it on here just so we. Well, yeah. Right. Let's make sure we're totally done with it, and then I'll download the thing. Okay.
Cool.
So here, intro. So what do you think would be a good hook? Anyone have a good hook?
does it have to be positive or negative? You're like
It can
talking
be whatever you want.
Yeah,
If,
it just
in this situation, it might be good to have a funny hook. Like I saw this YouTube video the other day, one of those prank videos where Gordon Ramsay pretends to be a server in his own restaurant and he messes everything up and they make this big scene and they're about to fire him and then he reveals that he's actually Gordon Ramsay.
How do you not notice that he's Gordon Ramsay?
Because he had a disguise. He looked like an
I
old
was
man.
gonna say.
I don't know. I don't think it's not very relevant, but
I mean, he looked like an old man already. So.
yeah.
Yeah. Anybody have any ideas? You could talk about any time that you've been to a restaurant, how you've seen the workers being treated, something like that.
Or you could talk how hard it is to calculate your tip. Like, I've
Does anybody
taken
really know
calculus
how to
in
calculate it?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it depends on what the tip is. Like, do you have tax in the tip or no? And then, like, how much are you gonna tip?
Yeah. So I think that's also something that's very relatable. Like, I'm not very good at math. So
Yeah.
whenever I'm at
double the tax.
Like, no, I don't want to tip. I don't know how. Calculate it.
Yeah, you could say something like that. Like, I was never good at
sometimes
math. And now, like, I have to, when I'm just trying to eat my food, I have to somehow, like, pull out my calculator, my TI-84, and, like, try and figure out this math, like, something like that. Like, I'm just trying to eat in peace, and, like, how am I supposed to tip when I don't even know how to do it?
Yeah, like maybe my dining experience would be better without math. So maybe I guess. So then first question, should tipping in restaurants be mandatory? And then you go into your stuff, you have an unclear thesis. So that you're clearly saying like we're gonna answer the question and this is how we're gonna answer it, but we don't have the answer yet.
And then when you get back to the conclusion, well,
So, like, what would you put for the thesis? Like for this example, like, how would you make it unclear?
So here, like what I wrote here. Okay, so you can talk about like with so many, like there are a lot of things to consider in tipping restaurants. The fact that employees work so hard, but also the fact that it should be the restaurant's responsibility and not the customer's responsibility. But there's a lot of different things to, or no, maybe you don't have to reveal that early. So you could talk about how sometimes tipping can make the experience worse because sometimes you split the tip, you have to do a lot of calculations, but also you know that the service that the server is giving you deserves to be recognized in a tip. With so many things to consider, how can we determine whether or not tipping should be mandatory? So with so many aspects of the issue, we have to determine the answer by analyzing the status quo, a reevaluation of the status quo, before finally coming to a final answer with all the aspects in mind. first. Why do they get, and then you go through.
Yes. And just a reminder of our amazing, life-changing walk with these design, okay? So we start with our introduction. We talk about how tipping is absolutely preposterous. I can't believe we have to do this. This is a complete, what's the word? The audacity of people to force me to tip when I don't know how to do math and I have to pull out my calculator. So should tipping even be necessary, like mandatory? And in order to think about this, we're going to talk about status quo analysis, is the reevaluation of status quo, and whatever our third point is. And then so you start walking over to the first point and you talk about how the workers work so hard, and imagine being a server and that would really suck because they all have to deal with so much every day. And you walk over to the other side and you talk about, while you're walking, you say, and although people's jobs are so hard, why does that mean that we should have to give servers an extra tip? And then talk about how preposterous it is because nobody else gets any extra tips, blah, 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 blah. And then you say, but this is still an issue because the servers don't get paid enough. So how do we solve this? And we should do this by just making their wages more in the first place, blah, 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 blah. And then, so then like step forward and talk about, so in order to address the question of whether or not tipping should be mandatory, we need to first look at how hard these workers work and acknowledge that they don't get paid enough for to pay the dues that they have to spend by working so hard and having to deal with so many people. But then we need to also think about how nobody else gets tipped. And lastly, we need to say that I think that we should just, as a whole, pay tippers more and have the company itself just raise their wages so that they don't need tips in order to survive a regular living standard. And then you donut back around and talk about how maybe if we don't have to pay the workers this much, then I won't struggle so much calculating the tip every time that I go to a restaurant. And you, at the end of each speech, you say, oh. At the end of each speech, you say thank you. And at the beginning, the judge will ask you for time signals and everything. And you have to ask them, is the judge ready? And then they always say yes. Like, it's just like out of respect kind of thing. And then you do a thing called breaking, where you take a second, because they'll start timing you whenever you start, the second that you start speaking. So you take a second, kind of look down, you collect yourself, you get ready with the first thing that you're gonna say, and then you just you go hard. You're like, I don't know, you come out like full blown, a new person, just so confident. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what's
Yes. Preparing them, and also like we talk about this a lot, but sometimes speech is not how you say it, not what you say, but how you say it. When you come in and you look very confident and you're dressed in your suit and you say, is it ready? And you have your time signals ready, like, can I have this and this and this? And you're like, okay, so this person has at least done it before, and that already builds something in their head. Like, this kid has done speech before, I'm ready to have a speech by some experienced speakers.
I think tomorrow we'll probably do some speeches. Just make sure you understand the structure and what you have to do. General idea of what you have to do.
At a tournament, do we typically get, are you allowed to bring, like, not obviously whenever you go say your speech, but during prep time, can you bring, like, notes or no?
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
well,
you can bring stuff to write on.
You can write stuff down on and stuff like that. Yeah, I would recommend not bringing a note card because to your speech with you, because I think there's a rule you're allowed a note card up to 50 words. But if you do have it, it's kind of a rule of thumb for the judge to just rank you last. Which I only really found out when I became a judge. Yeah, if the group has a script out or if they have like a note card, then you're basically automatically ranked last. But I mean, if you need it, a tournament, really, at least your first few tournaments, is really just for practice.
So I'm gonna download this now. Yeah, and also because in Impromptu you just have such short prep time, it's better to just spend that prep time thinking about it rather than trying to like write it down so you can reference it later. Because a lot of this stuff, like we have a lot of time to format this, but you might just not have that time.
Basically,
So you still just have to think about this stuff like while you're actually speaking.
in general, the most that you could ever write down would probably be intro, calculator, thesis. These are going to be my 3 points. So I'll just say like first point, analysis of hard work of servers, reevaluation of status quo, and then like third point, solution, workers get paid more. And that's it. That's literally all you'll have time to write down. And going into the speech, you'll just be like rehearsing in your mind, don't forget these 3 points.
Yep. Okay. So, and then a lot of the more detailed stuff we talked about, like why they should get tips and like why don't we tip firefighters? Why don't we tip anybody else? Why do only servers get a tip? Something like that, where it's like reasoning underneath point number 2, you might not have enough time to think about. You might only have time to be like, okay, my second point is going to be asking and reevaluating why they should get tips in the first place. And then while you're actually speaking, you're going to have to be like, okay, what's something I could say? Why don't we tip? So like, you'll have to do a lot of thinking on your head, but this is good for us to just get an idea of what we should be thinking about.
Exactly.
So I put it on the Discord, and it's already 1. So if you guys want, we can end here. We can also do like a practice when you guys want. Whatever.
Yeah, I think we should end here for today. Prepare yourself for the speeches you're gonna, the amazing, fantabulous speeches you're gonna deliver tomorrow. They're gonna be really good.
Yeah, and we're gonna do multiple rounds tomorrow.
Just like a real tournament. It's just gonna be like a mini tournament.
Are we doing 5?
What's that?
Are we doing 5 minutes of prep time this time?
Maybe we can do the first 2 rounds with like 10 minutes prep, and then we can slowly.
10, 7, 5.
Ooh, that's an idea. I think the winner can choose a tattoo for me. So look at this mad tattoo.
Whoa! Dang, that's crazy.
It'll last for like 2 weeks.
You guys get to choose what's on Hannah's arm for 2 weeks. So.
Where and what? Sorry, I mean, you were saying something, you interrupted.
Oh no, I was just gonna say bye.
Oh yeah. And leave. We'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.